Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Adobo and Avocados. My name is Marie Cruz, and oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this episode. But before that, let me introduce you to my sidekick, as always.
I'm the sidekick. I'm Nicole van der Hoeven. I've just come back from Brussels in Boston. It was amazing, and I'm happy to be here with our new guest over here, Stage Mom.
The one and only Tristan Lombard. Wow, it's
No,
so
it's Stage Mom
amazing to find.
now.
just this, we'll just call Tristan stage mom the whole
Yeah,
time.
yeah.
Yeah, but Tristan, would you like to just quickly introduce yourself?
Yeah, well, I want to say being on the other side of receiving end of being stage mommed is quite a experience, but I'm here for it with my little mic, you know. No, Tristan Lombard, thank you so much for having me. I was going to say first and foremost, and thank you both for building stages and lifting other people up onto them. I think that it is absolutely beautiful, and I just want to say I really appreciate y'all. It doesn't go unnoticed by myself or anyone in the DevOps landscape. I would say so for me, introduce myself. Oh gosh. What am I gonna
Pressure.
no, so I, grew up in the middle of nowhere, Virginia, poor white trash country. Got into Berkeley at a very young age. I just love that university. So, immediately started working, building out community programs for the university. Got involved working specifically with homeless youth, being a former one myself. So it's really important for me to give back. Worked primarily with homeless youth with Axis 1 diagnoses, schizophrenia, bipolar. Got my master's at Columbia and was like, you know what, I'm tired of being poor. I'm going to go take my social work values and I'm taking them to tech. Did recruiting for about a year. Helped recruit 118 people in 1 year. I was like, this is not for me. But I learned a lot about the business. And I kind of fell into test automation, moved my way up, became a community manager, all things marketing as well. And then gosh, we had a 20% layoff in my last company. And so I decided, consulting. So it's kind of been fun. I traveled to 5 new countries last year. So I'm at 35 now. And on top of that, I would say I really love helping women founders specifically. But what I also do on the side, just for fun, I don't charge for this. I've been a stage mom for quite some time now. I think Kris Jenner, ruthless matriarch and manager of the Kardashians and Jenners, but for software developers, automation engineers, really anyone in part of the SDLC. That's me. So I've been doing that for quite some time now, and it's genuinely been a joy. And that's actually like how I met you, Marie, like years and years and years and years ago. What is time?
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's been forever that I've known you, and it's great that over the years you're still helping out a lot of people from the community and still helping me as well. So I just really appreciate the efforts that you've done to the community. So it's great that in this episode you're the one who's also I guess it's the other way around, like us being the stage moms, even though we don't know how to be stage moms, but we're gonna try to be stage moms for you. But the question first that we always ask every guest that comes to Adobo and Avocado. So you both know that Nicole and I are both from the Philippines, and adobo. I don't know if you've had adobo when you visited Philippines. You
I
had.
did, Queen. I did. I took up on all of your suggestions. Don't
Love
you
it.
worry. Yeah, 1 month in the Philippines, you can't not.
Yeah. So, as you know, adobo is the unofficial national dish, and it always reminds us of home. So, Nicole and I, we haven't been home for such a long time. Like, we've both lived in Europe, like, I think longer, like more than half of like our lifetime. So, it always reminds us of home, and that's why we wanted to have the name adobo as part of our live stream. So, my question is, what is your adobo? What reminds you of home? It could be food or it can be anything. It doesn't have to be food, but it could be food too if you want.
I understand. I'm also sometimes food motivated, so don't you worry. I would say
Just
food wise,
sometimes.
Not often. Don't tell anyone. My boyfriend hates it. He's like, "Why aren't you hungry?" And I'm like, "Not my problem, yours." Um, but if I am gonna get into it, I would say, I grew up country, so I would say mac and cheese or deer jerky.
Ooh, yeah.
Mhm. Mhm.
I love
I
mac
know,
and cheese
weird.
as well. Yeah.
Who doesn't? Like, who doesn't? And if you
I
don't
know
like it, who
someone who
hurt
doesn't
you?
like it. My daughter, because my daughter is very picky.
She's gonna grow out of this phase. I will
I hope
come
so.
away. So
It's been
don't worry.
7
Don't
years
worry,
of her
Marie.
being picky, so I can't wait for her to actually try like a lot of food.
She has a lifetime. She has a lifetime to get over this disorder or condition. It's okay. We're an ally. We're an ally to non-mac and cheese lovers. Oh, and hot sauce.
Are we though?
Oh,
Hot
yeah.
hot
Do you
sauce.
put the hot sauce on top of the mac and cheese?
Girl, I put it on everything. I put
Everything.
it on everything.
Yeah,
I just got back from
absolutely.
Colombia. They don't use hot sauce regularly in Colombia. Like everywhere I go,
Mm.
I was like, "Picante de salsa, por favor?" Yeah. Yeah. So I put hot
Aw.
sauce on everything. Mhm.
Yeah, good, good. We'll definitely get along. I do that as well sometimes, like pizza. I mean, I like pineapples on my pizza. I know it's a controversy, but
Nicole,
oh, we can't hear you, Nicole.
Oh, whoops, I was muted. I was gonna say I love pineapples on pizza. I love anchovies on pizza. I love a lot of things on pizza.
Yeah.
I love curry on pizza. I had sushi pizza and I loved it.
Oh, I haven't tried sushi pizza. Hopefully, we still have some people listening or watching this after they heard
Yeah.
that we
Oh,
all
so this is
love.
actually a food show? I
Yeah.
I don't know. We just kind of told you that it was somewhat work related, Tristan, but actually no.
Oh, hey,
bait and
Karen.
switch
Yeah. We managed to get Tristan as part of Adobo and Avocados.
at 6
um,
a.m. Bless us.
yeah. But Tristan, we're really interested because you said that you've
Yeah.
been a stage mom and you've it sounded like you've tried different careers until you finally landed being a community builder. So you gave us
Mhm.
an overview, for example, of like a while ago, like you did your masters and you tried doing the recruiting. What was your
Mhm.
path to becoming a community builder? Was it just a natural progression or was it like an opportunity that presented itself?
Mhm. Yeah, well, a lot of people don't know that Berkeley's Alumni Association is a 501(c)(3). That's how we can actually build equity, for our students and scholarships. And so that was my first job right off the bat when I was barely 21. It was a nonprofit, and half my job was throwing elevated tailgates. Think, 1,000 plus people with linen tablecloths. Yep, sports. But my other half of my job that I really, really loved is it was helping enable affinity based alumni group leaders. So giving them training, helping them build their websites, helping them do event support so that we could cultivate and give back to the university, whether it was time, doing scholarship readings, personal statements. Shout out to all of you parents that need help with your personal statements for your children. I'll see you in a decade or so. But that was already the start of my career. You know what I mean? So when I went into serving the homeless, that was more of kind of survivor's guilt for me. But community had always been at the heart, managing those relationships, finding where you can identify and empower leaders while also helping them with certain strengths and supplementing the rest and making sure that you were all aligned around the mission to give back to the organization. And that applies as well when I went back and I went into tech for the first time. I had
Mm.
7 years in nonprofit. So these wrinkles have many, many stories. Don't think I'm that young, y'all.
We
Mhm.
can't see them,
It's your
don't
question,
worry.
Tristan. Thank you.
There are
Thank
no
you. God is good.
wrinkles.
Denial is helpful too. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mm.
Yeah. Back to your
So
question though, Mauricio, about community building.
yeah,
Sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So like, cause you said that yeah, you've been doing non-profit work for 7 years.
Hmm.
And then you have all these like community experience. Why
Hmm.
tech? Why decide to try to combine, I guess, the community building? to, I guess,
Mhm.
to a different industry than what you were like already doing?
Yeah, the funny thing is like people, I think some people think I'm like this weird calculated person, and they would be right. They would be right. But the thing is that I just freaking love people.
Mm-hmm.
I've
Oh,
always loved people authentically, and I think for me, getting into tech, I wanted to. I really saw the nonprofit industrial complex for what it was. I'm not going to go into the details and shout out to all my amazing nonprofit leaders. I love you so much. But it's just like tech. There's for-profit aspects to it. So you see behind the curtains, right? It's not all flowers. And so I said, well, I'm going to stop asking tech for money for these
Mm-hmm.
programs that and grants that I was co-authoring. I am just going to go straight into tech and I'm going to take my values with me. I'm going to be that Trojan horse. Y'all think you were hiring diversity. And I'm like, that's really sad if you think this is diversity, y'all, but here we go. And so for me, it was like, well, used to recruit 2,600 hungover college students to do a day of community service at Berkeley as their Berkeley project director. Like, you can recruit developers all over the world. It's the same
Mm.
thing. Wrong, wrong. But
Yeah.
I, had a friend who knew a friend. I was having my like post grad school existential crisis, Jean Valjean, who am I? And I had like no money. I was, and I got this job interview for a place called Sauce Labs with this amazing woman
Mm.
called, Anna
yeah.
Marie Gutierrez. Obsessed with her, was obsessed with her, went on site, had the best recruiting experience of my life, took planes, trains, and automobiles, y'all. I had to like borrow money for this plane. And then I remember negotiating in the bathroom in like Charlottesville, Virginia, while waiting tables, wearing my Dr. Scholl's patent pending shoes, and I'm swatting fruit flies at the server. I'll give you $10 if I'll give you $10 if you like watch my tables. And I'm like, well, Anna Marie Gutierrez, I love that offer, but I think we can do a little bit better. And like, I told her that story years later. But when it comes to recruiting, I saw a lot about the business. But 2 weeks after I joined, I had attended the world's largest Selenium meetup group, which I would later then run myself. And I had attended that session. And one of my work wives now, she saw me and I was like, what can we do in terms of music for ambiance? What, like, there's people that give unsolicited advice, but I'm genuinely in the mission of making things better. And I'm like, what do
Yeah.
we do if we like organize, the registration? She and the CMO at the time immediately saw me and they were like, well, come to marketing. And I said, I told my
Mm.
Anna Marie Gutierrez I would give her a full year. And I'm a woman of my word. So I did that, helped
Mm.
recruit 118 people. And then exactly at the year mark, I went into marketing. And so it felt very full circle. I had a lot of other duties that I had to do, but relaunching Secret Sauce, our community, that was a big thing for me, and also getting to celebrate developers and leaders at our open source meetup group. That to me was such a joy. So seeing it come full circle.
Yeah.
But I've worked in all kinds of community building, and I've done a lot of it myself. I've managed a team. I've consoled CEOs and founders. Wait, we're still doing that? Okay. So yeah, to me, it's people. TLDR, it's people. You have to love people.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say I relate so hard to you saying that some people can see like the extrovertedness and us loving people because I also really love people and I feel like it comes across as inauthentic to people because I just love it so much. Like I connect to people really quickly and it really doesn't take very long before I'm like I love you, give me a hug, and some people find that a little bit off-putting, or like I remember things about people because I take notes about people that are important to me, and they're like, oh, this is just like a work thing. I'm like, no, I'm doing this for work because I am like this anyway, so
Mm.
I might as well do it for work too. And it's
Hmm.
very difficult because when you care so much about people, there's some people who
Hmm.
either don't believe it, and then there's some people
Mhm.
who take advantage of it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you said that last part because I was waiting for you to say that. I was like, "Ooh, she doesn't touch on that." Marie, you were going to say something though about this.
No, I'm
Loving
just I'm
people.
just agreeing to the both of you. I mean, my personality, it's not very extroverted, but so it takes a while for me to warm up. But I totally agree. Like when I met Nicole in person, like I'm amazed by how easy it is for her to just spark up conversations everywhere. Like we went to like this cafe in Berlin. We were like on a train, and I'm like, how do you do that? And so it's good. Like we have a lot. I mean, I have a lot, to learn from like people like you, people like Nicole. So it's great that we have people like you that is trying to make tech, or trying to make the community a much better place, because there's so many things like for us like to learn too.
There is, and I think there's one thing, I always say this when I'm emceeing at a conference, I always quote Nathaniel Hawthorne from the Scarlet Letter: "Be true, be true, be true. Show freely to the world your worst trait. Let the worst trait be inferred." And I add to that, and I'm like, y'all, I'm not saying be your worst, but I am saying be true, be you. And I think back to your point, Nicole, a lot of people, they're afraid of authenticity because they haven't found that for themselves. They haven't. And to quote one of my favorite mentors from social work when I used to try and fix people, God bless, she said, "Tristan,
Oh, you
that's
figured out
their
a way to
journey."
stop doing that?
Yeah, yeah, you have to say this, that's their journey. So when people think that, you have an issue with them, whatever, like, people used to tell me, "Look, perception is reality." And I'm like, "Yeah, your reality. It's
Mm.
your reality. You don't have to carry everyone else's feedback, criticism, perceptions of you. That's their journey. The rest is up between me, God, baby Beyonce, the universe. Call it what you want. To quote RuPaul, just call me. But like, you don't have to carry it. That's their journey." So I think
Mm.
that's something I always tell myself when people are putting their energy on me. I don't need it.
Yeah. I like that. I think yeah, we all need to just keep saying that as a mantra, like for us to just believe it.
Correct.
um but maybe we can then talk about like the theme of today's episode, because I think
Hmm.
um like Nicole, we've always talked about personal branding as part of Adobo and Avocados, and people might notice like the title of today is how to build a brand of value. Maybe we can first define, or we can maybe first, I guess, define or not define but explain why having a
Hmm.
personal brand could help you, and then after that we can then talk about how is brand of value different from having a personal brand. So those that's two questions. So
I love it.
first one, yeah, why do we need personal branding?
Yeah, and I know everyone's like, Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. I'm literally going to close my laptop right now if I hear personal branding one more time. And I'm right there with you, everyone. Like, I literally, if I hear it
Yeah.
one more time, I'm like, I will throw myself out my window. I know I live on the first floor, but I'll do it. Um, but y'all, it is important, right? We know from BBC's recent tech reports, from last year, and I'm not here to like spill the tea. Y'all already know the numbers, and I'm sure by the time, y'all are watching this recording, the numbers will be higher. We know that we're in the worst, tech, situations since the dot-com boom of the early 2000s. Like, we know this, but it's beyond just that, right? Like, it's important for you to build a personal brand because it is an exercise for you, not just for creativity, but also for building in public. Years of working with people in software testing, I have had to deal with a lot of very skeptical, critical people, and that can sometimes breed for great quality software, but it doesn't always encourage this building in public, making mistakes, having a typo. And I think that's something that's not just indicative to the testing community, it's indicative across DevOps, across tech in general. We're striving for perfection.
Yeah.
And I really want to encourage more people to build a brand of value, not just for future job prospects, but also for their continuous learning, and also to help amplify others' voices as well. So when I think about building a personal brand, to go to your second point, that's the personal brand piece. But I cheated a little bit there. A brand of value is different than just a personal brand. Lots of people have got personal brands, and some of y'all, I love you so much, and I just wish you wouldn't. You'd think more about it before you post it, and then we'll get to that. But a brand of value is different because you're not just building a brand of noise, you're
Mm.
building a brand of value, right? And what that means is you're really thinking about, okay, this post, how is this post of value, not just for me, but also for the people that follow me? A lot of
Mm.
people who are gulps, influencers, they don't, a lot of them are not building a brand of value. They're building a personal brand. And for some people in their following, it's valuable because it's comedy or it's entertainment or I don't
Mhm.
know, but I really like to encourage people to really think the difference between a personal brand and building a brand of value.
Mhm.
I
Yeah.
love that so much. I also am really allergic to actually even just the word brand
Brand,
because
yeah.
it has a connotation of being something, to brand something is permanent. It's not something that changes. It's not a great way to look at to apply to humans, even if it's yourself. And
Yeah.
I also feel like it has a connotation of commercialness of like having thought about something before actually doing it. But I think if you can do it the other way around, where you build something around what you already are, what you already believe in, that would be a brand of value.
I also think y'all, we're a little allergic to marketing in the community space, and I totally get that. But having co-run an entire marketing department in between a leadership interim, I also know that the term brand, you just got to embrace it. You just got to
Mhm.
make it yours. You just got to make it yours. And to your point about physical and permanent, Nicole, didn't you just tell us in backstage you got a tattoo?
Yes.
A permanent brand, yeah.
Wanted to
Yeah,
bring it
you're not
up.
supposed to
Well,
tell people that.
they would never know, Nicole. But yeah, I think people just have
Yeah.
to embrace it. I think people have to embrace it, and, not everyone is at that stage. My thing back from, managing 60 plus cases of homeless youth is one of the things that I really specifically around, drug addiction, um, was you've got to meet people where they're at for continuous positive change, right? And so when we're thinking about the stages, right, pre-contemplation, contemplation, activation, planning, maintenance, and the one piece that no one talks about, the sixth part, relapsing. What are we doing with fall off the horse? I always think about that whether I'm working with a client and consulting or whether I am coaching, because I hate the term mentor, whether I'm coaching someone and or trying to get someone to do their first post to help build their brand of
Mhm.
value. I'm always like, okay, where are they at? But you can't
Mhm.
help someone who is still in the pre-contemplation stage.
Yeah, that's really important because I think people who are active in the community, like maybe one side effect that they also want to encourage people is, yep,
Mm,
like if you have something that you want to share, but other people have already written about it, then that's okay because it's also coming from your own voice. However, like it's right,
mm,
is also correct the way you said it, because you also have to think like at what stage is that person in. So if they're not like completely ready to, I guess, take that first leap into
mhm,
contributing something to the public, then I guess it's also just easing their way, or maybe like making like small suggestions, or like you said, taking a pause and then help them when they are like in that stage, that when they are ready.
Yeah, but y'all, we're not. I'm really like y'all. I have a filthy, filthy potty mouth, so I'm really glad I'm censoring myself at 6 in the morning. Um, but we're not shipping
We can
perfection.
do that backstage.
Thank you. We're not shipping perfection.
Yeah.
Perfectionism is fear and fancy footwear, and we ain't got the money, honey. Sometimes you gotta ship it. And so many people
Mhm.
are afraid of making mistakes. And I'm like, y'all are, overzealous with ChatGPT, and you're worried about making a mistake. And we'll get to that later, in terms of building a brand of value. But the first thing I would say to someone who wants to, start but they don't know where to is hopefully you're over that pre-contemplative stage. Hopefully you know whether you're looking for your next opportunity, whether you are in devrel and or the community space and you need to help, gulps again, evangelize the value of the products and services that you are sharing of your company, and or you want to share something about your latest upcoming talk about building like dashboards with AWS for precision and tracking metrics, or leveraging Grafana, which is absolutely wonderful. The point is that once you've gotten to that
He's a
stage,
better advocate for Grafana than we are.
Yeah.
well, I said AWS, so I just figured. Mm. Um, But I wanted to say, when you're thinking about it, okay, so now I know that I want to post about something, but what do I post about? That's
Yeah.
great. That's the first stage for building a brand of value. But you got to have someone help you. You
Mhm.
cannot create in a silo. You cannot, I mean, you can, but y'all, it's very taxing. Trust me. Wait, I'm doing it right now. Been doing it for a year. Yeah, it's taxing. So you always want to create and collaborate with others. So find someone in your organization or find someone in your network that you really love and admire. Have a virtual coffee with them. Just talk to them about the process. Or if you're inspired by this video, just DM me, and I can give you some tips and tricks. But like, you got to start somewhere. And then the other thing I tell people too when they want to start, like I was just coaching this one, veteran, and for him, he was still at the pre-contemplative stage, and I usually
Mhm.
don't help people at this stage, but
Yeah.
it was also in the best interest of one of my clients in the company I'm working at, so I had to get in there. And for me, I said, well, they felt like that it was bragging, and this is something I hear a lot about. People think that when you're posting, you are bragging, and
Yeah.
yeah, maybe that's actually a little true for some of y'all, and that's okay too, like, go on with your bad self, shine a light on others, but don't forget to shine a little bit of light on you too,
Mhm.
all plants deserve some sunshine. But I would say as well is for him, I was like, okay, it's not about bragging, friend, but if you can't do it for you, do it for future you that is looking
Mhm.
for a job opportunity, right? So explain to them some of the economic benefits. And then once they are on board, get an accountability partner. And so for us,
Mhm.
this exercise was something I've done with developers, anyone part of your SDLC forever. I say, it's one post a week. I want you to post between Tuesday and Thursday for maximum reach. And I want
Mhm.
you to pick one thing. What is like, first we talk about what is your brand, right? So, what are the three buckets of your brand that are most important to you, right? Everyone has three buckets. It could be something around, your favorite programming language. It could be something around a framework, open source framework you really love. It could be something around your certain brand of leadership, right? So, everyone has that. For some people, it's, inclusive leadership. For other people, it's like, grit and grace. Shout out to you, Grace Francisco. I absolutely adore you. And so really be thinking about what is that brand of leadership. The third bucket, that's also open to y'all. For me, it's always going to be celebrating the women and diverse live leaders in technology that I love the most. But find your three buckets. Then once you find your three buckets, right, we come up with that schedule. The schedule is once a week. I love, love, love encouraging people to share about continuous learning, right? So what's a new product that you're learning about right now? Are you working on a certification? Are you, in a certain course, whatever it is? Share one thing that you learned. That's how you build that brand of value. Is I'm not here out there being like, huzzah, 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 I got this new certification. No, I'm literally being intentional. I'm thinking about my followers and I'm thinking about what's the most important thing that I learned. Then I'm putting it out in the universe. I've got my hashtag toolkit ready so I can make sure that my post trends properly, right? That's
Mhm.
your first post. That's your
Yeah.
first post. Then let's make that a cadence. Let's make that a rhythm. This is how you start to build a brand of value.
Yeah. You've touched upon a lot of amazing points, so I guess I'll just comment on some of them. So,
Yeah.
first you mentioned that it's not about perfection, just putting something out there. But I think one thing to maybe just
Mhm.
say out there, just to maybe explain to people why we try to strive for perfection, is we've been hardwired ever since we were little. One book that we've mentioned as part of this live stream in the past is this book called Brave, Not Perfect. And
Mhm.
especially girls at such a young age, we've been told that, oh, you can't do this, you have to be this. Whereas boys are encouraged to make mistakes, like have
Yeah.
bruises, like fall over, but girls aren't. So, and
Yeah.
it takes some time to, I guess, change that narrative. But I guess what we're trying to change now is, yep, it's okay if your first post isn't perfect, as long as you're posting something out there, and as long as you're able to help even just one person. I think that's the most important part. And then the second
Mhm.
comment I would like to add, so you mentioned that um some people might feel that they're bragging if they keep posting about things that they've done. But during, like, I think this was like way back, I did the I Am Remarkable program. And one thing that I've learned from that is it's not bragging if it's the truth. So if you've actually done that, then you're not really bragging. It just shows that you're remarkable for doing that. But I know it takes a lot of practice for us to get there, but it will get easier.
I
Yeah.
still
It
struggle
does.
with that, the whole bragging
Yeah.
thing. Um,
Yeah.
I I still think and double think, like, should I be posting this? Is this okay?
Yeah.
And the way that I try to get over it is like
Mm,
what you said. I do try to post a lot of other things about what I'm learning. I try to give a lot out there for free to the community. And I've found that when you're doing that, people trust you more. If everything that you post is like, hey, look at me, look how awesome I am, and you never,
Mhm.
boost other people's posts or
Yeah.
talk about things that you've learned or give other people value, then it is going to come across a bit as bragging. And the
Yeah.
other thing is that I pick and choose where I put those announcements. Like, I don't just go to in the middle of a conference and be like, "Hey everyone, I just did this thing." It's like, no, if you follow me on Mastodon, I assume that
mhm.
you want to hear about things I've done. But if you
Mhm.
don't, you
Correct.
can follow me. Same thing for LinkedIn or any other social network. If people are following you, they're following you because they want to know what you're doing. So
Yeah.
that is not,
Hmm.
it's like them coming to your house and saying, "Hey, what are you working on now?" So you're just giving them what they expect. That's very different from like going to a Slack community and spamming all the channels and saying, "Look at me, look at me."
Yeah.
That's
Hmm.
like you going to a public place. So I think that there is a difference in expectation that you can use to your advantage.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I think going back to, I want to hold a space for that for a second. I do want to go back to what you said, Marie, about, specifically young women and this need to change our narrative. And it's a lifelong battle, right? And it
Mm.
doesn't go away. Maybe you're a survivor of like significant trauma as a child. I mean, just sometimes being a woman in this world, in this current world, is traumatic, right? Like, but it's a lifelong battle, and you're gonna have that voice in the back of your head. And the one thing I always tell people when I'm coaching them or being a stage mom, right, is I say, find that ism that works for you, right? Like maybe it's, maybe you're overthinking something, right? Just say rent free, because it's living rent free in your head. Whatever you need to quiet that noise. But that changing your narrative, it's a daily active maintenance. It's not something we ever get over. So I just want to hold a space for that and for everyone out there who can feel that way. And, I would say as well, like, y'all, I had a speech impediment when I was young. You couldn't understand anything that I said, and I had a southern accent. Like, I took, 2 years of speech therapy. So for me, that's another reason why I love encouraging other people with public speaking.
Mm.
And, I think to your point, Nicole, when you're talking a little bit about, that bragging piece, I think the other thing that I think is really important there too is that a lot of people could watch this recording or they might say, okay, that's great, but like I am now a VP of engineering at Google and I never even post on LinkedIn. And I'm like, and that's great for you. We're not saying that building a brand of value is required to get you to your next leadership role, right? And shout
Mm.
out to all of you ICs as well. We see you. No, building a brand of value that's a great side effect, but building a brand of value is about what you are contributing back to others, right? Sharing that continuous learning out loud, also lifting other people up while slipping in just a little bit of promo for other things because y'all, we have to have our paychecks. So, like, but that's building a brand of value. So, if I think people can think about it from that lens and less of like my personal brand, let's reclaim this. Let's make it different. Let's change the narrative. Let's also change the conversation. I think that's how we continue to have more elevated conversations and we don't get these terms regulated to the trolls on Twitter,
Mm.
formerly known as X, as I like to say.
Speaking of, we do have a question from Karen. Where does your voice come into play with your brand of value?
Every day, every post, every character, every indentation, every emoji, every hashtag in your toolkit. Absolutely. Um, in an ever evolving landscape of AI, insert comma here. No, but back to your point, it's every single post. It's every post. People know you have to be authentic. If you're not authentic, people read through it. You'll see a direct correlation. It is hard though. Code switching is hard. It's exhausting. I am a once, twice, thrice recovering and relapsing social media manager on top of all of my community building duties. Yep. And I can tell you when it comes back, we're gonna come back to this voice piece, I promise. But you know what other than the number one most engaged post that we'd always get was around the new products and or services that we were offering. That was always number one. Customers,
Mhm.
followers, users, they want to know. But you know what number two was the most engaged type of post? What was it? Guess.
Oh.
Corporate brand. Corporate brand. Go
Mm.
ahead.
I don't
What do you think it
know.
was?
Nicole, any
I
ideas?
don't know. What did you say was the
Culture.
second one?
Product was the first. The
Yeah,
second, actually, so this is the second. The second was culture.
Okay.
People
culture.
want to know about the humans behind the technical solutions that you are
Yeah,
using to serve your customers
Mm.
and or projects. It's always that. So when you go back to voice, I learned a lot about building my own voice by managing these corporate social media accounts, right?
mhm.
But you have to switch between the two. I learned a lot about metrics, and you don't need to run a social media account to be able to find your own voice, right? Which should be in every single post. But you can run your own metrics. So go back and say, okay, this past month, what was my top best performing post? Get out of that. And then take
Mhm.
this other idea around content strategy that I tell everyone is it's reduce, reuse, refresh. Right. So
Mhm.
take that post, turn it a little bit, slap it around, make it better, elevate it, put it out there again. But your voice is consistent throughout every single post that you make. And your voice is going to evolve too. I want to hold a space for that for people too, right? Like just because you may have hypothetically, started out in tech and test automation does not mean I need to just post about testing for the rest of my life. Testing will always be a framework that I see any kind of product, and I'm so grateful that I had that. But I fell into the Salesforce ecosystem because my last company was a Salesforce test automation solution. I
Yeah,
love the open source community. I love Brene Brown, like a true white suburban woman. Here I am. But like I have these different leaders that I love. I don't need to just post about one thing. And
yeah,
your brand of value will shift over time. People will come into your life and they will go away, and some will stay, and so will your ideas too. So I just want to encourage people to, when you're experimenting, know that over time your brand of value is going to change too, and that's a good thing.
I love that because maybe are we okay to share it, Nicole? Like the internal changes, maybe, yeah. Because
Yeah, sure.
because like we're having a big restructure change within our jobs, and Nicole and we both started in the testing community. We've attended a lot of testing conferences, so
Mhm.
having like a shift in terms of, okay, this quarter, next quarter, you have to focus on other areas.
Mhm.
And it's is scary, but at the same time exciting, because
Yeah.
like we might not be as active in the testing community, like we're not going to be talking a lot about the stuff
Mhm.
that we used to, but at the
Mhm.
same time exciting because it's an opportunity for us to learn about different areas, learn more about not just testing but other aspects of the SDLC, and
Yeah.
exciting as well because we can start our path into becoming active into different communities as well. But
So,
Mm.
it's scary and exciting.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
talking about this with my professional coach actually,
Yeah.
and I
Mm.
said, she's trying to get me to express the fear. And
Mm,
the
Mhm.
fear is that I feel like I'm pretty comfortable with testing. I can speak
yeah.
with confidence about almost anything. I'm
Mm.
not saying I'm an expert at anything, but I do know the trends, and I have
Yeah.
experience, and I can contribute something of value. And when I
Mhm.
go into a field like observability, I do feel like, but I've spent, like 12 years of my life in
Yeah,
testing, which is
same.
sometimes related, but not really. And I feel like, well, what good is my voice? You know, like, and that was the actual fear. It's imposter
Mm,
syndrome. It's like,
Yeah.
why would anyone listen to me? And she
Yeah.
pointed out
mm,
that it really isn't about that, because other people don't think of it that way. Like, most people want beginner content, really, and
Yeah.
anything else goes way above everyone's heads anyway. So there is a value of just teaching the first few levels of your own learning journey.
mm-hmm,
And I also think this is an instance of why this is an example of why it's important to build your brand around you, not the thing that you're doing right now. I mean, Marie and I have both made this mistake. Don't build your personal brand around, using a husband's last name, for example. Don't build it on just a specific industry, because you might not be in that industry. Don't build it on a certain company, because you'll have other companies. Build it on you. And that requires a lot of introspection, and that's what makes it hard.
and make mistakes, y'all. I want to hold a space for that fear. I want to hold a space for that fear. Um, it does feel like the fear of the unknown. I like what you said around it's around where can I still provide value though? And
Mhm.
it's not like you're starting like a blank slate. You have 12 years in the testing space. You have relationships from there and or adjacent. You have frameworks for problem solving, right? You have a certain set of skills, to quote Liam Neeson. You have a certain set of skills though that you're going to be taking over to the next part of your life. I didn't spend 7 years primarily working with homeless youth, getting them, smuggling in cigarettes into an acute psychiatric unit in a prison, true story, to then pivot over to tech and like start architecting, community platforms for developers, automation, engineers, like I had skills that I took with me. And people talk about transferable
Mhm.
skills, but it
Yeah.
wasn't just about transferable skills. It was about your North Star. What is your why, right? And for you, Nicole, and we were talking about this before backstage too, and earlier in this conversation, it's that love for people. So whatever it is, finding your North Star, it could be around, for people, could be around continuous learning, you know, getting new challenges. Whatever your North Star is, y'all, look forward to that. Look forward to that. And change is fun. I think we had a question though in the comments, y'all. I didn't want to
Yeah.
micromanage.
Yeah, we have a question from Fernando. What about setting boundaries between your online presence and your own
Ooh.
privacy? People usually want to know about your city, family, and stuff, and not necessarily to be intrusive, just to feel the human. This is a good question. Yeah.
Yeah, this is very, very on point. I really appreciate this question, Fernando. I knew we'd get to privacy. Um, this is a really good one. Yeah. So first and foremost, y'all post whatever you're the most comfortable with, but we would be silly to not have watched those, quick YouTube videos and or on TikTok about the people that find someone via like a piece in their background and then they satellite in and they like find them. Like that all is very, very real. So I do want to hold a space that cyber, privacy is an issue. But y'all, that's between you, God, and law enforcement. I don't know what else to tell you. Like, find your boundaries. But I will say to your point, Fernando, about privacy, though, and how much you want to showcase, what I always tell people when I'm coaching them is I say, you think of it, think of your building your brand of value when it comes to privacy and how much you want to share. Think of it like a performance, a stage, kind of like these curtains behind me. There's always going to be the front curtains, right? And everyone is going to see those curtains come up on the stage, right? You'll see the performance. It'll be beautiful, I hope. There's also a backstage curtain. Not everyone gets to see that backstage curtain, right? Not everyone gets a VIP backstage access to, your children or, your terrible habit about X, and it's up to you to decide who gets access to that backstage, right? And I really wish that more social media companies were able to offer those different opportunities. RIP circles in Twitter, formerly known as X. You know what I mean? So like it's going to be up to you what you want to show as your front and your back. I will say though that your point, Fernanda, they do want to know about your kids. They do want to figure out what works for you and your brand, but I would rather lean in more than hide more,
Mhm.
but you're gonna have to find what works for you. I do think though, in terms of privacy, we also have to think about boundaries. A
Yeah.
lot of people, y'all, like they're on all the time. I cannot tell you the like during Global Panini, I I was running an entire community by myself. I was managing our corporate social media accounts. I was required to like do blogs. Like I was like the go-to everything. I probably slept like 4 hours a night. Like it was wild. And I thought that I had to respond to everything within a very short window of time. Your boundaries are your boundaries. People don't talk about this when it comes to boundaries. They think that, oh, I set my boundaries. No, it's maintenance. We talked about this before when it comes to changing
Mhm.
your narrative. Boundaries are an everyday requirement. And what I really learned, from years in tech, and also I learned this from social work because I had no boundaries, y'all, until social work. People respect people more who have boundaries. You need to figure out what your boundaries are and you need to communicate them, whether it's with your manager, whether it's with your community members, and come up with some systems in place, but you cannot be on at all times because the
Yeah.
road back from Burnout City is a windy, windy path with lots of detours. I'll go back one day. So really think about what your boundaries are and you have to maintain them. You do not need to respond to everything right away. And the other thing I would say to y'all is like coming from a social work background and then going into highly technical products, I was so afraid that I'd say the wrong thing. I was so afraid that I would say the wrong thing. Ask other people. I don't know why people can't ask for directions. I don't know why people can't ask for help. So if you're stopping yourself from responding to someone, you're getting really nervous because you don't have the right answer, people are going to appreciate honesty more. So just to wrap up that question, we're thinking about privacy. Please, y'all, think about where you're posting and where you're at all times. One recommendation, if you're really concerned, maybe don't live stream from where you're sitting in a restaurant. I don't know. Wild. I'm not a scientist. But figure out also, too, from a privacy perspective, what is your front curtain? What is that back curtain? Who do you let in? And what is it that you're showcasing to everyone else? And then when it comes to boundaries, be really firm, communicate, and maintain those boundaries and figure out what kind of a response time makes the most sense for you and what you're comfortable with. I hope that was helpful. It's a work in progress for all of us. Back to you, dear readers.
I think for me, what I think of
Mm.
are security and the
Yes.
company reputation.
Yes.
So I,
Yes.
if it were just up to me, I would share everything with everyone. You know,
Yeah.
I just don't want to, and it's not for everyone, right? But for
Mhm.
me personally, the more that I share, the more I feel seen. And it can be very difficult
Mm.
for me if I don't share something and then there are people who think a certain way about me and I'm like that's not actually who I
Mm-hmm.
am. It can create that dissonance that can be really taxing for me. So it's actually easier for me to share more. But I
Mm.
have to still have some boundaries. I need to know that I'm going to be safe. So I will say personally I'll say where I live in terms of the
Mm-hmm.
city, but
Yeah.
I'll never take a photo or have a camera
Mm-hmm.
towards where I actually am. Like I'm not going to show
Mm-hmm.
my outside, like what street
Yeah.
I live in or anything like that. Even when, I mean, conferences are fine. I'll say I'm at this conference, but anything else, I'll post it to social media after I've already left, just because
Mm-hmm.
I don't want, just to be sure that I'm going to be safe. But I also have to take
Mm.
into account that as a developer advocate, I, to some degree, speak for Grafana, even if I'm
Mm-hmm.
not talking about Grafana. If I mouth off,
Mm.
or do something that I'm not proud of, that's going to reflect badly on Grafana. And that
Mm.
is something that I need to take into account. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
completely change who I am, but it does
Sure.
make me have to be more careful about how
Sure.
I interact. And I also did want to
Mm.
share this because it is so great.
Hit me.
This is this is a
Oh, yeah.
manifesto for posting online in 2023. Oh, this was last year, but it doesn't matter. But it has some awesome
Yes.
things, like your time and attention are not public property. You know, they
Mm.
belong to you. Just
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
because someone shouts loudly in your inbox doesn't mean they're entitled to be heard. You know, just I mean,
Ooh.
I like highlighted the whole thing because it's
Yeah.
awesome. Sell
Maybe
your
you can
work,
share the
ask
link,
for payment.
Nicole.
Yes, I absolutely
Yeah.
will.
Yep.
This is something that I reread regularly now,
I love that.
just because I kind of need it. And I also like the idea that, you know,
Hmm.
when you create these spaces, they are
Yeah.
your spaces. They're
Mm-hmm.
not, just because you're online doesn't mean that you have any obligation to make it a democracy. If someone is
Mm-hmm.
on your site mouthing off, it's no, it's still your place. It's like
Yeah.
they're in your house. You get to decide whether they're in your house or not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, you touched on a few important points here, Nicole, but I want to ask a really serious question first. If you're not sharing your address, where do your fans send their letters?
I have a coworker. Okay, well, I don't know if fans have sent me letters, but but actually, I think the more common thing for this
Mm-hmm.
is like when
Mm-hmm.
you have a domain, when you buy a
Yes.
domain, and I have a few, you have to have an address. I have
Yes.
a company in Estonia, and I pay
Mm-hmm.
for a service that lets me do a few things, like including accounting and whatever. But they also give me an address, and that's
Mm-hmm.
the one that
Mm-hmm.
I use. So it's always one step removed from where I am.
How is Estonia this time of year?
Pretty freaking cold.
We love, and shout out to all of you people in Estonia. We love you. I do, though, think to that part, going back to what you said around reputation in the company, 1000%, y'all. I am not saying go out there and bleep post. Wow, I'm
Mm.
really editing myself. This is
I
amazing. I'm so
know.
homespaced. Thank
It's okay.
you.
You can say
You
that.
don't work in the roughest part of San Francisco for years and not pick up some filthy habits. I love my former clients. That said, though, yeah, your reputation, you are out there, and your company is important. I had a past company, and I had a boss who, at first was like, well, why aren't you posting all of these things? And I said,
Mm.
well, one, this is just SEO riddled trash. Like, I said it as nice as possible. Like, I'm not posting that. I'm not. I'm just
Mm.
not. You have to negotiate what that is. But I hear you, and I understand that more visibility from the company is important. So I am going to go, and I'm going to go partner with my marketing team. I'm going to go get some website analytics via Google Analytics, and I'm going to find out what the top 20 most visited product pages are, right? And then I'm going to turn that into content. 1000% message heard. But y'all, it's going to be a negotiation for what you're going to post from your company, and people are going to see right through it. So you're going to have to find that balance. And to your point too, Nicole, this is something that I will say as a one man gay pride parade, and like how over like I think 82% of my speakers in 1 year, when I started a meetup group from scratch, 82% of my speakers were women and or leaders from diverse lit backgrounds. Like, so I get it, y'all. And I only know it from up here. You're gonna have people come after you. Like, I don't post about politics. I don't post about politics. Like, I might heart something, but I am not posting about politics, y'all. I'm not taking the bait. That said, when it comes to issues around climate change, homelessness, reproductive rights, to me, that's not political. Those are human rights. And I'm going to talk about those. And if those values don't align with your company, not my problem. That's your journey. And I can take myself elsewhere. You know what I mean? So find that balance, people, that works for you, but know that a lot of your values are shared by others. They just don't have the
Mm.
confidence to share them.
Yeah. I'm just cautious of the time because we're talking a lot
Hmm.
about important stuff. But I remember
Hmm.
one thing
Mm,
that we want to talk about is
mm.
because lately it's all about AI. So why is building a brand of value much more important in this era now that we have like generative AI and yeah.
I'm so glad you asked that question, Marie. Is that my camera? Is that my camera? Yes, yes. So I feel like I need to take this opportunity to do just a little quick House of Stage Mom PSA to all of my boos all over the world in this Gen AI era. I don't know if you both have heard this, but there is a new epidemic that is upon us. It is called the AI click clout epidemic. Yes. And I just want to go over a few quick symptoms to know that you might be infected. You can check, and you can do this at home. So, number one, um, your bulleted insights read like conference abstracts, semicolons, and unnecessary capitalizations. Number two, Your prompt engineered all of the human heart out of your written content, but you've left room for emojis to make up the difference. Did you really, though? Number 3, your followers are also infected and have decided to respond in an AI-generated tone. Number
Mm.
4, your real friends that used to leave comments still care about you, so now they only leave hearts, as in, bless your heart. Number 5, you realize that your entire post was based off an image that you worked to render in Microsoft Bard, but you ran out of free credits and realized that there was no going back. So y'all, don't make wasted water used to cool down the supercomputers while we're in a decade-long drought in California be used for not dear readers. Hashtag do it for the children. So you can let us know what symptoms we're missing for this AI click clout epidemic in the comments below. But, sorry, I felt like it was an important PSA. But back to you. It's you're ruining your brand.
Yeah.
I don't know why these people I love so much are out there doing this to their brand that they have a brand of value that they have worked for years to build up. They are now using ChatGPT, any LLM they can get their hands on, any image generator. And like y'all, just because you're showing up on everyone's feeds doesn't mean it's good, right?
Mhm.
Like use it to elevate, use it for ideation and creation. Do not make that the centerpiece. People can see right through it. And for all of you people who are leading with authenticity, sharing continuous learning, again, around your favorite programming languages, open source frameworks, like whatever it is, like people are going to be more gravitated towards your content of value because it's authentic. You're going to stand out more. But to everyone who's experimenting right now, it's not too late to get off the AI click clout epidemic train. But this is a very important PSA, so I really appreciate you letting me have this moment to share with House of Stage Mom and all of these wonderful viewers. It's
Yeah.
important.
I agree with
That's
all of that.
yeah. That's yeah,
It
that's I agree as well, because one thing that, for example, like there's a lot of open
Mm.
CFPs at the moment, so people
Yeah.
are rushing in terms of submitting abstracts.
Hmm.
I'm part of the review committee for the Agile Testing Days conference,
Yes.
and the organizers have also shared, for example, here are some tips to like detect if an abstract is generated by ChatGPT or other AI.
But you
But
know, but you know, you
yeah,
know, you know, you
and
know.
like this is just my way of saying, if you have a topic, like you're really passionate about it,
Hmm.
just like you can do it, like write it, ask someone for help rather than, I guess, asking ChatGPT, because you'll probably get the attendees will probably get a lot more value if it's a piece of content that you or someone else in the community have actually proposed, rather than in an AI doing it.
so
100%. And remember, oh, go ahead, Nicole, sir.
Oh, I was going to agree, and I was also going to say I
Hmm.
agree with everything that you both said.
Hmm.
There are two things that I think are use
Yes.
cases for ChatGPT. The first is
Yeah.
asking it to provide me sources. So I'll say,
Yeah.
give me some books or articles about this topic. Then I'll go and
Yeah.
Yeah.
read those things myself and
Hmm.
synthesize it in my own words, but it's done kind of the grunt work for me. The second thing
Hmm.
is asking it to disagree with me. So I will often put an abstract on there and say, what's wrong with this? Give me arguments
Hmm.
against it.
Hmm.
And I
Yeah.
think it's really good for that because
Hmm.
sometimes it's hard to get candid feedback from people who care about you.
Yeah.
People don't want to hurt your feelings. ChatGPT doesn't care. And I find it super useful for that.
I do love that, but you're missing one of the byproducts that comes with that human interaction. And that's continuing to remember there are no safe spaces, there are just brave ones. And the more we get feedback from humans, the more we get better byproducts about building our own strengths. I would push back a little bit on that, but I do like your part around the ideation and creation piece 1,000%. But you need that human intervention at the very
Oh,
end. You're
yeah.
not,
Yeah.
you know what I
Definitely.
mean? Like you just need it, and people are going to see through it, and they're going to see that creativity. But yeah, I really also want to say too, shout out to the Agile Testing Days,
Yes.
committee, Marie, and everyone, because like I tell everyone, a lot of people just submit, applications for CFPs, and they never get any feedback back from the organizing committee. And I was
Mm.
blown away. I was blown away by the agile testing, days committee, sorry, when they were giving feedback. So like just mwah, Pepe and all of you, I love you. Yes.
Nice. So we have about we'll give you a minute or two, Tristan. But last question from our side. If you have one piece of
Mm.
advice that you'd like to share to anyone who wants to have a career in tech, what would that be?
Mm. Well, I mean, I think this applies for anyone. I mainly coach. Well, what I would say is this. I'll keep it very short. I would say first, build really strong relationships with recruiters right off the bat. They will
Mm.
remember that. That's really, really important. Number two, build your own board of leaders, right? Your trusted advisors. Build that board. It will change over time, but build your own board. Let your ego go, y'all. Let your ego go. I don't have an ego about anything except grammar. That's because I've got, a lot of student loans. Thanks, America. I would say also you need to remember whenever someone says, because I cannot stand this, I cannot stand this. When people tell, specifically when I've hired, women on my team, and they would say, "Oh, they need more confidence." I cannot stand that. So remember that they need more confidence. It's not actionable and or helpful feedback, but always
Mm.
when receiving feedback, remember what's for you and what's for them, right? I would also say tech is a wild and competitive game. So, to quote Hugh McLeod, never compare your insides with someone else's outsides, and plan your joy. Plan your joy daily, whatever that looks like for you. And don't think that dimming someone else's light makes yours brighter. I am really, really surprised in my years in tech how some of the worst critics of women identifying leaders are women. No
Yeah.
one talks about that. No one talks about that. So make sure that you are building stages and lifting others up onto them, which is why I love what y'all are doing. You're doing God's work. I appreciate you. But I think those are a few things that are important for someone working to get a career in tech. Mhm.
All sound advices. I think especially the part about women supporting women. We need more of that. Yeah.
Yes. 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 And I don't need to have five sisters to say that, y'all, but I do.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much, Tristan, for being with us today. Like, you've shared so much, like, not just about tech, but like, just about like life lessons. If I'm being honest. So I hope that anyone who watches this episode will learn one or two things like that will benefit them as well, not just people who work in tech. But yeah, we really appreciate you, and we're grateful of all your support, all the contributions as well, all the help that you are giving to the community. So yeah, and
I
you've
got you.
given us your time as well. It's so early there, so we're really really grateful.
You're
You must
welcome.
be
Your
special.
Bamate, y'all is great. You are special. Well, I would say one last tip for people in tech too who are starting. You can't expect someone to get online at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. if you are not willing to get up at 6 or 5 a.m. You have to make changes and you have to meet people earlier on. That's just one thing I wanted to say as well to anyone who's thinking about getting in tech. I cannot stand this Gen Z trend about like no meetings before 8 a.m. I'm like, no, you can do that, but you need to wake up early for your developers in Delhi or wherever in the world they are. You got to get up early. So that was just an important tip. But I want to say lastly, y'all, I adore you so much. This was so much fun. Really appreciate it. If anyone ever has any questions, you can come find me. And I adore these leaders so much. So, y'all, just remember, lastly, start building your brand of value today. Don't think of it as a personal brand, think of it as a brand of value. And that's a great place to start. And it's okay to shift your brand. You can keep the people, you can change the topics. Don't worry about it.
Mm.
Stay blessed, y'all. I appreciate you. And I will see you online. Mwah.
Thank you, Tristan, and yeah, thank you all. Bye.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.